Hi everybody, I'm Saskia from KJR, and today I've got Bex with me, our Head of Talent and Culture.
Hey.
I wanted to chat to Bex today because she spent a couple of days in Sydney last week attending the Australasian Talent Conference. So I wanted to get some insight as to maybe what her top 3 highlights were, and I guess a look at what we can expect for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a wonderful time at the conference. There were some fantastic people there, so lots of people working in the talent space across Australia and New Zealand. So I had a wonderful time, loads of networking, and most importantly learnt a lot. So 3 biggest highlights for me and key takeaways were, the first one was culture. And we all know how important culture is, but it was really highlighted in terms of the importance for your employer brand and that recruitment process, but also the role it plays in digital transformation as well, and being a real key part of that. So that was one takeaway. The other one that was really interesting was positive psychology. And how we can use neuroscience more in practicing HR. So that was really fascinating. And then, of course, a lot around technology. So a lot of new and emerging technology in the HR space, with a lot in particular around predictive analytics as well.
Okay, so I do have some questions with those 3 things because they aren't typically what would come to mind when I think of HR or talent recruitment. So digital transformation, can you elaborate on how your role and others in a similar role are leading or playing a big part in digital transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. So digital transformation is something that almost every organisation is going through at the moment. So whether that's as small as leveraging a social media channel, or as big as completely transforming their entire organisation to be more digital, it's so important that HR and the recruitment piece plays a big role in that, and that really comes down to culture and about how ready your employees are to embrace digital change and to really get on board. And a lot of employees are really fatigued with change at the moment. You know, there's so much going on, the pace of change is so rapid, that it's important to have a culture that's really open and adaptive and can respond to the kind of change involved with digital transformation.
Yeah. The neuroscience side of things, that seems a pretty intense term to start including in day-to-day HR when you're not a psychologist. So how will you be bringing that into your role?
It sounds like a really hefty topic, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
And don't worry, there's no need for any HR practitioners to necessarily go and get a doctorate in psychology. I hope not, because that's not going to happen. But it's more just around how we can really understand neuroscience a bit better and kind of weave in some positive psychology techniques into everyday HR. So whether that's just around changing our language a bit, making it a bit more positive, so particularly for employee communications and even policy documents as well, the dreaded policy document, making it more positive. And things like, the performance review or performance management process, making it less about your weaknesses and how you can develop your weaknesses, and focusing more on strengths, which just has a more positive connotation. So how can you improve and build on your strengths rather than develop those weaknesses?
Recently you wrote a blog post around language used in recruiting. The use of ninja and badass and terms like that. Was that something you found people were talking about at the conference in line with the positive language? And
absolutely. So unconscious bias was a big topic at the conference, and how bias can play a big role in the recruitment process. And there's a lot of technologies and different approaches that are out there to try and eliminate that unconscious bias from recruitment processes. So particularly around using predictive analytics or psychological assessments in place of a resume. So some organisations are going as far as not even needing a resume or a CV. The very first step that you take in applying for a role is actually completing an assessment, and that's around sort of more cultural values fit type things, as well as just general sort of ability, so that no one's biased by anything on a resume, including their name or where they went to university or anything like that.
Okay. Now emerging tech, that's a pretty big one, a lot out there by the sounds of it. So what are you doing at the moment with KJR, and what have you implemented so far, and where do you think it's going?
Yeah, absolutely.
See things going.
Yeah. So as I said before, predictive analytics was a big topic, and there's lots of tech around that. Something we definitely want to use in the future at KJR, but we're not yet, but we'll get there. So some of the tech that we're using at the moment, one of them is LiveHire. Fantastic, we love LiveHire. It's a talent community technology. So we use that to connect with anyone that is interested in joining KJR in the future, and we talent pool for future opportunities. So it's a really, really great technology, and we've been using them for about a year now. We've also just implemented Flare. So Flare is an all-in-one HR and benefits system. So our employees onboarded onto that system a few weeks ago, and that's really great. It just opens up a whole bunch of different benefits to our employees, creates loads of efficiencies, so improves the productivity of my role especially, and has really improved our onboarding process for new employees too. And literally just last week we started using another platform called XREF. And this is an automated reference checking technology, and it's fantastic. So, productivity-wise, saves me heaps of time, and we also just get much better reference checks as well. So that's great too.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Bex, and keep an eye out for new videos in the future.
See ya.
See ya.